We have been told since childhood that life rewards the most disciplined, the most hardworking, and those who meticulously plan every step. And while there is some truth to that belief, it is not the whole story. There's a deeper, almost invisible layer of reality that isn't shaped by spreadsheets, schedules, or sheer effort. It's shaped by something more sacred, your state of being. The first step to entering the sacred flow state is unlearning. Yes, unlearning. You must let go of the belief that control is your ultimate power. Control, in the traditional sense, is rigid. It clings, it demands. But the universe, the quantum field of infinite possibilities, does not respond to force, it responds to frequency. Think of control as trying to row your boat upstream with all your might, constantly exhausting yourself just to make minimal progress. But stepping into the sacred flow state is like turning the boat around and letting the current carry you, not aimlessly, but intuitively. You still steer, but now you're supported by a deeper current. That current is your alignment, your vibration, your clarity. We've been conditioned to see surrender as weakness, but in the realm of quantum creation, surrender is a superpower. Surrender doesn't mean passivity. It means presence. It means learning to trust the unseen mechanisms of life that are far more intelligent than our conscious mind. It's about making space for intuition to speak louder than doubt. Ask yourself this: where in your life are you still trying to force something into being? A relationship, a job, an outcome that feels just out of reach no matter how hard you push. That's your invitation to pause, to release your grip. Because when you hold on too tightly, you create friction. But when you allow spaciousness, energy moves. Miracles happen in space, not in struggle. Science may not yet have a language for miracles, but the quantum world gets closer than we think. In quantum mechanics, particles don't move in straight lines. They exist in clouds of probability, behaving according to the observer. Reality itself becomes fluid, shaped by focus and expectation. What if your life works the same way? When you stop trying to manipulate every outcome, you open yourself to alignment. Alignment isn't perfection, it's coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, and intentions harmonize, you emit a frequency that the quantum field recognizes, and it responds not with logic, but with synchronicity. You begin to notice patterns, signs, connections that seem too precise to be coincidence. Let this sink in. You are not a machine grinding toward results. You are a field of possibility magnetizing outcomes based on your state of being. You do not create from tension, you create from resonance. That's why some of your best ideas come when you're relaxed, not stressed, when you're in the shower, walking in nature, or doing absolutely nothing. So this is the first portal to sacred flow. Dismantle the myth of control and fall in love with resonance. You don't have to push the river, you just have to stop resisting it. There's a reason your greatest clarity doesn't come when you're analyzing, but when you're feeling. We've been trained to intellectualize every decision, to evaluate life through logic and data, and while these tools have their place, they are limited. Intuition, that quiet whisper underneath the noise, speaks a language that logic cannot translate. And in the sacred flow state, this becomes our native tongue. Frequency is not something esoteric. It is your emotional tone, your internal music. Imagine yourself as an instrument. When you are tuned, every string hums in harmony, and the energy you send out is clean, coherent, magnetic. But when you're consumed by fear, doubt, comparison, or guilt, your internal music becomes dissonant, and the universe responds in kind, not punitively, but reflectively. We don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. Your outer life is nothing more than a feedback loop of your inner climate. The job you get, the partner you meet, the chances that arrive at your door, all are echoes of your dominant frequency. If your inner space is cluttered with anxiety, even your most well-rehearsed manifestations will feel blocked. This is not a punishment. It's a reminder. Clean the instrument. To step into sacred flow is to practice inner stillness. Not silence in the absence of sound, but a stillness of resistance. A space where you no longer fight the moment, but merge with it. This is where intuitive clarity lives, not in the panic of what if, but in the trust of what now. You don't need to chase signs when you're in tune. The signs find you. And more importantly, they make sense without effort. Have you ever noticed how creativity strikes when you stop trying? When you stop digging for answers, they seem to float to the surface? That's not random. That's resonance. The sacred flow state is not about doing more, it's about resisting less. You become a conduit rather than a controller. Quantum philosophers suggest that reality is not fixed but responsive. In other words, it's not just out there waiting for you, it's dancing with you. Your attention collapses probability into experience. Your emotional state influences how the wave becomes particle, how possibility becomes reality. This is not fantasy, it is physics meeting faith. When you're in a state of coherence, you become a magnet. Opportunities arise not because you chased them, but because they were always circling, waiting for you to match their signal. Think of it like tuning into a radio station. The song you want to hear is already playing. It's just waiting for you to find the right frequency. And frequency is a choice, not a circumstance. You can choose to tune into gratitude even when the external world offers little evidence. You can choose calm in the storm. You can choose joy before the breakthrough. And when you do, you begin to collapse reality into a form that reflects your new state of being. So here's your moment to ask, what emotional frequency am I practicing daily? Is it grounded in trust or riddled with tension? Because your answer reveals not just who you are, but what you're calling in. Sacred flow isn't a peak state. It's a practiced permission to feel, to listen, to align without needing proof. Let intuition be your compass and stillness your amplifier. What you seek isn't hiding, it's vibrating, waiting for you to hear it. Everything around you and within you is energy. Your thoughts carry weight, your emotions carry momentum, and your expectations shape outcomes. If this sounds abstract, think again. Quantum entanglement has shown us that particles can be connected in such a way that the state of one instantaneously affects the other, even at great distances. Now imagine your emotional resonance as a kind of entanglement with your future. When your heart and mind are aligned in integrity, when you're not faking peace but actually embodying it, you become synchronized with the versions of reality that mirror that frequency. You're not begging the universe to give you something. You're showing it that you already know how to hold it. That subtle difference is the threshold between longing and receiving. So many of us live in emotional misalignment. We say we want love, but we don't feel worthy of it. We ask for abundance, but we carry the frequency of fear and scarcity. It's like trying to tune into a radio station with the dial set just slightly off. You might hear the signal, but it's full of static. Sacred flow requires you to fine-tune your entire being, not just your words. There's a gap between what we say and what we believe. And it's in that gap where most manifestations dissolve. You may declare your goals, write your affirmations, visualize your future, but if underneath it all lives a current of disbelief, of unworthiness, then that current wins, not because the universe is cruel, but because it's accurate. Think of it like this. If your inner world is the projector, then your outer world is simply the screen. You don't change the movie by yelling at the screen, you go back to the source. The work isn't outside, it's inside. It's in identifying the emotional wounds that make you feel undeserving. It's in healing the narratives that say, I can't have this, or I'm not enough. Here's the irony. When you begin to feel as though your desire is already yours, not wishfully, but energetically, you start noticing proof of it everywhere. That's not magic. That's coherence. Your subconscious no longer filters it out as irrelevant or threatening. You see what you're ready to allow. The quantum field always held it. Your job was to become a match. This is why emotional alignment is not a luxury. It's a prerequisite. And the key isn't perfection. It's honesty. Can you admit when your frequency is off? Can you love yourself, even while you recalibrate? That kind of self-trust is more magnetic than any vision board ever created. Ask yourself, where are you trying to manifest from a place of lack instead of embodiment? What would it feel like to already carry the emotional state of your desired reality? Because that's the key to become before you receive. The quantum field responds not to fantasy, but to felt truth. Your emotional alignment is your signature in the field. And when your inner signature is whole, life begins to echo back what was always yours. But only now do you recognize it as such. When you release the compulsion to force, something extraordinary happens. You become available. Available to the present moment, to divine timing, to the nuanced rhythm of becoming. The sacred flow state doesn't reward panic, it rewards presence. And presence is not a passive state. It is a form of intelligent awareness. A calm, soft readiness that allows you to respond, not react. Imagine you're walking through a forest. The more you try to control each step, worrying about the mud or thorns or what might come next, the less beauty you see. But if you slow down and look up, really look, you notice the way the light filters through the trees, the sounds of birds you had tuned out, the whisper of wind that feels like a message. That's presence. That's flow. When you live in this space of sacred awareness, you stop trying to micromanage your life. You begin to understand that your job isn't to manipulate every detail, but to maintain your frequency, to walk with integrity, openness, and curiosity. You're not auditioning for a future. You're rehearsing your alignment with it. In the quantum field, time is not linear, it's responsive. The outcomes you seek are not ahead of you, waiting in some distant place. They exist in parallel, activated by resonance. That means the version of you who already has the thing you desire is not far away, it's just vibrating differently. And every act of embodied trust brings you closer to that version. Here's what most people get wrong about trust. They think it means doing nothing. But real trust is deeply active. It's choosing not to spiral into fear even when circumstances are uncertain. It's continuing to nourish your vision even when the soil looks dry. It's saying, I know I'm supported, not because the proof is here, but because the frequency is right. Sacred flow teaches you to stop asking, when will it happen, and start asking, who am I being while I wait? Because the waiting is not empty, it's formative. You are not stuck, you are steeping. Your energy is brewing into something coherent, magnetic, undeniable. The world around you will test this presence. People will project urgency, fear, competition, scarcity. But in sacred flow, you don't rush to defend or explain or outperform. You return inward. You ground your energy. You remind yourself that your alignment is your authority. Ask yourself, how do I show up when nothing seems to be moving? Do I collapse, or do I stay in tune? Do I beg for signs, or do I become the sign? There is immense power in becoming unfazed, not indifferent but unshakable. And this is not detachment, it is depth. The deeper your roots, the more you can bend with life without breaking. You become like bamboo, strong, supple, silent in the storm. Presence is not about pretending to be peaceful. It's about choosing your response again and again until your nervous system knows peace as its default. And from that place, all things flow. Not because you forced them, but because you became the kind of space they were always meant to land in. Manifestation isn't magic, it's magnetism. And magnetism doesn't arise from pretending you're perfect. It arises from vibrating in truth. There is a sacred intelligence that flows when who you are, what you desire, and how you show up are all in harmony. That is magnetic integrity. And in the sacred flow state, it becomes your natural operating system. Too many people chase external results without ever checking their internal signal. They want the relationship, the success, the healing, but they bypass the alignment it requires. Your energy speaks before you do. It enters the room ahead of your words. The question isn't, what do I want? But who am I being as I move toward it? When your actions are infused with desperation, control, or fear, even your most noble goals get tangled. But when your energy is grounded in truth and suffused with trust, the world around you begins to arrange itself, not by manipulation, but by mirroring. Let's be real, manifestation without self-honesty is just fantasy. You can write affirmations on sticky notes all day long, but if your nervous system is still wired for survival, your subconscious will override every intention. That's why the inner work is not optional, it's foundational. You must become safe enough inside yourself to actually receive what you say you want. And this becoming isn't about fixing yourself. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to fear your power. It's about shedding the distortions, the generational patterns, the subconscious beliefs that whisper, "You're too much," or "not enough." Sacred flow is the process of releasing interference until what remains is pure, whole, magnetic you. Ask yourself, if I truly believed I was worthy, how would I speak, walk, decide, how would I rest? Because manifesting isn't about effort, it's about embodiment. It's not about doing more, it's about becoming the version of you who no longer has to chase. That version doesn't hustle for worthiness. They radiate it. The quantum field doesn't need a perfect script. It needs a resonant signal. And your signal becomes powerful when it's infused with integrity, when your inside matches your outside, when your decisions honor your desires, when your boundaries protect your peace, when your yes is clean and your no is sovereign. This is the paradox. The less you perform, the more you attract. The less you chase, the more arrives. Because life doesn't respond to noise, it responds to clarity. When your energy is clear, coherent, aligned, reality has no choice but to echo your signal. So where do you begin? Not with forcing outcomes, but by tending to your inner landscape. Wake up and ask, what am I broadcasting today? Am I in coherence with the version of me who already lives the life I'm calling in? And if not, how can I gently recalibrate? Sacred flow is not about perfection. It's about devotion. A daily, moment-to-moment choice to tune in, to listen, to live in alignment with the truth that you are already whole, already connected, already worthy. And from that place, magnetism isn't something you achieve, it's something you remember. You've arrived now at the edge of a powerful truth, not the kind shouted from stages or etched on vision boards, but the kind whispered from within. The sacred flow state is not a distant utopia reserved for the enlightened few. It is your birthright. It begins with a single honest decision to align who you are with what you seek, not just on the surface, but in vibration, in emotion, in energy. Let go of striving. Let go of the chase. Let the version of you who already trusts, already embodies, already knows, lead. Manifestation isn't about proving your worth. It's about remembering you were never separate from the field that holds everything you've ever desired. So pause now, breathe deep. Ask yourself one final question. What if I stopped seeking and simply became the space where everything beautiful could arrive? If this message resonates, share it with someone who needs the reminder. And if your heart is stirred, subscribe or follow along, because this is only the beginning of your sacred return to self.